Hey, Joe Gill here, back again, and I'm here, I guess, to continue somewhat of an induction, more of an introduction, sort of a part two. I've been really racking my brain about what to talk about this, my big elaborate first trip of the Soviet Union and all that back in '91, and what stories to tell, thinking, oh, I'm just gonna, it'd only be like a 5 part series or 5 video series. I'm thinking it's going to be a lot more, because there's a lot of little tidbits and little things that I want to kind of share with you, or sort of talk about in a sense. Like for instance, I came across this little memento right here. It's a journal, but it's a journal that I took of the whole trip of Europe, and it's got pages of everything. See, there's my chicken scratch writing, Wednesday, June 12th, and then look, I'll show you, first day of Soviet Union or whatever I wrote down here. There we go. Beginning Soviet Union, July 25th, 1991. So I kept it, I call it the diary. I wrote European Tour Diary. I know it's kind of gay, but it's kind of cool. I'm a little bit glad I sort of have it. But yeah, this thing's like 26 years old. I can barely read some of my writing on here, my little chicken scratch, and there's not really enough light for me to read. So I have this, and I've read through it, and it sort of remind me of little tidbits here and there, although I've retained a lot of it myself. But I just been racking my brain about what to talk about first. I mean, like I said, I slept with 7 women on that whole trip, and I want to talk about like how I negotiated, some of the stories I met. Like one story I wanted to tell was my very first night there, how Steve and we met these 5 deaf women. They were deaf, they couldn't hear, and we ended up taking them home and having sex with them. And we didn't know their names, and we didn't know what to call them, because we kept referring. We'd be talking about our trip and referring to these girls and telling people, it's like, oh, have you been with any? So it's like, yeah, we were with, and we didn't want to, refer to them as the 5 deaf broads or the 5 deaf girls. And I go, well, what do we call them? And I go, well, who's a famous deaf person? And I didn't know of Marley Matten, or we would have referred to them as the 5 Marley Mattens. So I called them Helen Keller. So I was going to give you my little story on how I met Helen Keller and had sex with her. But we just didn't know what to call them. And here's an interesting thing. If they were deaf, you're right. If they did whatever, sign language, it would be in Russian, so we couldn't communicate that one. And if you said, read my lips, that's how usually deaf people communicate. They read lips. I would be speaking English, and they know how to read Russian lips. So, yeah, I wanted to tell that, because that's like how we communicate. It's just a story and a half. And they turned out to be prostitutes, and we thought, yeah, these girls can't be, hookers, or this is not going to cost us any money. But yeah, and just other stories like that, and like negotiation, and I wanted to talk about the psychology of Russian women, because one gal, I didn't really meet there. Wasn't really looking forward to paying. That wasn't my thing. I didn't want to be like the international sex tours. I didn't want this to be an international sex, and paying all these Russian chicks for sex. It just wasn't my thing. I mean, I didn't object to it, but it's just like, I don't fucking want to do that. I fell in love. I had my heart broken in high school. Fell in love with a chick named Beth, like I probably mentioned. Broken up for a year, and I kind of wanted another romantic, pussy, fairy tale romance over there. I was a different person 26 years ago. I was all about wanting to fall in love again and all that, and then in the back of my mind. But Steve, he kept saying, look, I'm telling you, these Russian women are for real. He said this, once you have a Russian woman wrap her legs around you, you're going to find it tough to go back. I mean, he just kept croning and crooning and placing these women on such fucking high pussy pedestals. It was just like, yeah, they're women. They got a twat, they made them sound like super pussy. What, I'm gonna undo her panties and there's gonna be a cape with an X and sparks shooting out of there, or what? Well, they sort of lived up to their reputation. That's just some of the different shit that I want to talk about, but I don't know where to start. So I shared with the diary, why don't I just start with some photographs. Now, one thing I didn't tell you, I had sex with a Russian woman before I even got into Russia. I had sex with a girl named Galina Marajoma. The backstory on her, she was a friend. She was a friend of Steve, who I told you he went in first in 1969. He met her and actually had sex with her and just remained in touch and remained friends. So she married, got out of Russia, immigrated to Sweden, married to Sweden, was in a small town called Borås, Sweden. If you don't know where Borås is, it's near Gothenburg. It's across on the other side of the country from Stockholm. Sweden kind of goes in it's like a skinny little country, and it's on the other side of the country. Opposite side of Stockholm. Anyway, well, she immigrated to that small town. So anyway, we were going there and staying there for fine, and Steve was hoping to nail her because he had already had sex with her, Well, she wasn't interested. She was interested in me, and we were having a bunch of foreplay and all this stuff, and I ended up having sex with her. So anyway, I have some photos of her to share. Here's one. I don't like this freaking photo of me too well. But she was 39. I was 19. Note the fucking shitty mullet. Yeah, I had that because I was putting it up in a little ponytail. I had a little Steven Seagal thing that I was into. Here's a picture of Steve. That's her and Steve. My friend, he immigrated to Canada. And here we are again after we got home, after I'd been drinking, and I was about ready to go in there and give her a good sticking with my dickin', so to speak. That's the bedroom. That's the bedroom we slept in. We were getting ready to go in there. And then that's her and Steve right there in the kitchen, sitting on the lap. And I said she's 39 years old and all that. So, that's basically her, and that's basically technically the first Russian babe I sort of bagged on the trip, but that was when we were Sweden. The way we did this trip is I flew into Amsterdam, we drove through Western Germany, went into Denmark, went up through Norway, went up through the Arctic Circle up to Narvik, came back down through northern Sweden. Oh, wait a second, I'm skipping a part. We went over to Borås. We went up to northern Denmark, caught a ferry going across that body of water. I forgot what it was called. Went to Borås. We stayed with her. We stayed with her for 5 days. And then we left and went up through Narvik, went down through Finland, and then entered Russia. Went out through Russia, through Czechoslovakia, went in through Eastern Germany, and I went home. What was former Eastern Germany at the time. So that's kind of what we did. We went through Scandinavia first. And that's technically the first Russian chick that I nailed and all that. So another girl I met, this was just a pen pal. This was in Finland, in central Finland. I think it was Javaslav. Her name was Sirku of it, and she just became sort of a pen pal. There's not much of a story here. Here's some photos she sent. This is her right here in the blue jeans. Those are some photos we sent. She was just a pen pal for a while. She was gonna, you know, come and visit and all that. But the funny story, so I was talking, he's like, why are you writing her? And da-da-da-da-da. He told me not to waste my time. And he said, you know what? He told me to write something and say, Rich, say this in the letter, because she was talking about wanting to come out. She wanted me to put her up and all that stuff. And she says, you know what, just tell her, look, yeah, I'll provide you with accommodations if you provide me with sex. And I started laughing. I was like, no. So I went and said it. And, you know, I was worried that she wasn't going to want to speak to me anymore. And Steve said, so what? And he had a way of using words. So I went ahead and said it, and she just never acknowledged it. But you know what? I just stopped writing her. Let's see, other photos. What else do I have here? This is another girl I want to talk about. This is a Russian girl named, her name is Svetlana. And I met her, we literally met her just after a couple hours of entering the country. She was from Leningrad. And she was really cool. I didn't sleep with her. I did try to put the make on her, but she's part of who I want to talk about when I talk about the psychology and all that. And I guess from this day, she's probably one of the, even though our friendship only lasted for maybe 2 days and I never really saw her again, but for somebody who was literally a perfect stranger, she was pretty cool. And there's you know, a couple of things when I want to get more, because there's another video I want to talk about the psychology and, you know, the difference of what I thought between these women and American women back then. Now on to the gal that another gal that I slept with that I really had a crush on. This one is I actually kind of fell for and had feelings. This is Tatiana. This was in Kiev towards the end of my trip. This is a photo I took of her. That's her. She was 28 years old. I met her the day before my 20th birthday. So I had a little thing for her and I was like all freaking smitten. This is a copy of a photo she gave me, you know, and all that. And then here's another photo I took of her. So she was 28, and I reconnected her through Facebook. She's somebody else I want to talk about because she was asking a lot of questions about, you know, the differences, and I learned, and I'm also going to add her a little bit in the psychology of, you know, Russian women. So it's weird. I was just kind of not sure which video to do and stuff like that and what to talk about, but I just wanted to go ahead and share some of these pictures. Here's another photo I'm going to bring up in the Helen Keller, or the video that I want to talk about. This guy, we stayed at his house. His name is Evgeny, so I'm going to be bringing up his name a bit in one of my stories. And the deaf girl, the deaf girls, I didn't know their names, so I just gave them the name, the Helen Kellers and all that, or whatever. Because believe it or not, even after the incident even after that incident happened, it came up, and we didn't want to refer to him or whatever and all that stuff. So, but anyway, this concludes the introduction. Be prepared. Be prepared for, I guess, several more videos on the subject. I'll try to make them as interesting as possible. Until then, until the next one, I will talk to you later. Bye.